Hello, everyone. My name is Kalle. I'm one of the co-founders at Hashlist, and with me I have William.
Hi, guys.
So today we are going to speak about the topic of has ChatGPT ruined online coding tests? So as all of you know, 4 months ago, OpenAI released ChatGPT, which can write code. You can write it a question. You can ask it a coding question. You can ask a coding question, and it will basically respond in code, and it can solve quite complex challenges as well. So basically, for hiring managers in tech that use coding challenges as a way for vetting tech talent online, this has become quite a challenge. What do you say, William?
Yeah, definitely. I've been quite closely observing the emergence of different applications in generative AI, and I like quite interesting. I bumped into this YouTuber called Nick White, where he pretty much made a video where he completed lead code tests, and he passed all the tests when he pretty much copy pasted the content into ChatGPT on all levels of difficulty. And myself also, as I would not call myself the best developer in the world. I even could quite easily complete these different coding challenges that people previously used when assessing developers if they're really good or not. But what I believe we should speak about in this episode is especially also how will this affect senior developers, but also how will this affect junior developers, because I believe there is quite a big difference between them going forward.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, I think the way that you have vetted, if we jump into the topic, the way that you have vetted junior developers, especially before, has been the test. Like it has been very common for especially like fun companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. These type of companies, they send a test. The highest perform, like the ones that perform the best, they get then accepted into the next interview stage. And the more senior developers have usually either been directly headhunted if they have the right credentials and CV, and they have like an on-site interview directly, more targeted to the soft skills. So what I'm a bit afraid of is that this will probably not affect the senior developers that already have the track record. They have good work experience that prove that they are good. It will not affect them as much as the junior developers that have to qualify themselves for the first time. And previously they could use just a coding test, but is that possible anymore?
Yeah, not only the junior developers, but as well emerging talents. Like the thing is that how can we really prove people from emerging market engineers, especially how can they prove themselves if they haven't been to a prestigious company or prestigious school? So because previously you could quite easily just put them through, even more senior developers you could put through a quite comprehensive technical vetting process. However, that is still of course possible, but there's a high probability that they would use ChatGPT. That is for say nothing wrong with that, but however it doesn't measure then the developers' coding skills.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think one of the themes that we will see is that more and more coding tests. So you basically have two options when trying a coding test. So either you create the tests that is quite complex, so that ChatGPT can't easily solve it like comprehensively. For example, lead code questions, they're very easy for ChatGPT to solve. But if you have multiple files, you have a more comprehensive problem or an application with many bugs. You really have to know what you're doing as a programmer to solve them. And I would say the second kind of test that you can do as a hiring manager is to, but this requires probably a live interview, is go really deep into a technical subject or a problem that the candidate has solved, and basically ask questions about it and go deeper and deeper to try to understand how deep the understanding of the applicant is.
Yeah, definitely, and like I personally like more the live technical coding interviews, because then you can really hear how well they communicate and their way of reasoning. How they have built up or developed the task that you have given to them live. So that is one way where they usually they screen record themselves while they work. They usually ask questions from the technical interviewer. Usually also clarify the question that they got, because sometimes the technical interviewer makes these questions a little bit like open-ended, that really make it quite as a real life project where you always don't have the info and you need to ask from your supervisor, okay, hey, do you understand what this is, or have you considered this part, etc., etc. But yeah, of course, like multi-file, you mentioned the first one is multi-file tests, of course. However, like the generative AI space is growing so quickly right now that I believe that you can quite, for instance, I believe, I'm not sure you might be able to do it already, that you take screenshots from all the files you have, then you put them into the system, and then the system can analyze all the files and how they're connected to each other.
Yeah, and then of course we're probably getting Copilot X pretty soon, so you can probably paste in the code in your own editor and solve it that way. So I think the main problem here is that I think the technical interviews probably won't change that much, the live ones. What will be problematic for hiring managers that process a high volume of candidates is to know which ones to pick for the technical interview. Previously, you could just send them a link to a coding test and choose the best performers. But now the best performers might just have solved the test with generative AI and might not be able to code at all even.
Yeah, it will definitely, especially for, it will both for junior and senior developers be more bias-based hiring. Engineers look at school credentials, how well they have done there. Have they done it in internships? Have they also been, active in student unions, showing, that sense of collaboration, etc., etc. So, definitely things like that will play a much bigger role. However, when you then speak with, for instance, junior self-taught developers, it's much bigger problem, because how do you then know that this person could be good or not? However, of course, if the self-taught programmer has quite a unique background from before, at least what as an example, not in the developer field, but what they have done in the finance field, especially like you can see in London, the investment banks, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, etc., they have hired people, to finance positions from schools and from people that have studied history, psychology, etc., etc. So it isn't really related to that role. And what I believe also you could do for junior developers or self-taught developers is also, okay, what has the developer done before, and then based on that you can try to understand how quickly the developer could learn these topics.
Yeah, totally. So focusing a lot there on how more junior or emerging market talent, or those that don't have the verification badge from a company yet, how quickly they can learn, adapt, and also, of course, use generative AI to their advantage when developing and learning. I think that will probably be
I also believe run the coding tests, or that you just send link to a coding test, and then the developer has to complete it. by themselves. I believe also that a lot of senior people will enjoy, with the emergence of, ChatGPT and other generative AI applications, is that, they companies have realized that they can't send anymore, these coding tests. And there has been a lot of controversy about, should senior developers do this kind of coding test as junior people do. And I know a lot of firms that, require everyone to do this kind of like similar kinds of tests that even for seniors as they do for junior, that might be more applicable for junior developers. So, it's the same like, okay, let's say that you're a lawyer, you're a mathematician, physician, and you have 5+ years of experience and you search for a new job. Do you do a test in that field, in that topic? Yes, you are not doing it because you have proven yourself in other means. So I believe that especially, senior engineers will like this. And also at the same time, it's a completely different topic we shouldn't get into, but ChatGPT and now there's GitHub Copilot X and everything. There are huge productivity enhancers that especially the senior developers can increase. Or can. There's a lot of you can increase your productivity quite a lot with them and get a lot of the manual repetitive work you can automate with them.
Yeah, totally. So what would you say, has ChatGPT ruined coding tests, or were maybe the coding tests not so good in the beginning, or it wasn't the best solution to start off with?
Good question. Like as we mentioned, I believe like for junior developers, they have been quite good, like okay-ish, because it's usually, you have high volumes of juniors applying the position. So you need to filter like people out. And that's why it's good. But I believe especially like for senior developers, the coding test hasn't really ever been good. And people or companies have pushed senior devs to complete these tests. And usually, what we have also noticed is that, emerging market talent are usually more willing to complete these tests, as I mentioned, because they don't have the credentials, etc. But then if you, for instance, have a engineer that has worked at Airbnb before, so then the question comes that, okay, why the hell would they need to, do a coding test? Something that, let's say a junior developer would do. Yeah. So yeah, to summarize, I would say that, for juniors it has been okay before, but for seniors they have been flawed.
Yeah, especially when you consider roles that don't involve that much coding, such as being a people manager, like we're talking about engineering managers, a bit of tech leads, even though they do a bit more coding, but higher roles, CTOs. So coding has never really been a part of the job, but many times you have put a coding test in front of them, which doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and regarding the coding test and juniors, especially, like I read somewhere someone commented that lead code builds a logical code mind to them, and that might actually be true, for someone that is junior that hasn't this kind of code mindset, this kind of logical code mindset. So, but completed this kind of tests, which are usually quite repetitive, but still, I believe you will improve your logical reasoning.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I think that's some pretty interesting insights. So in summary, I think juniors are still like the sector that's most being threatened. So coming up with a good solution of vetting junior developers, that will have to be rethought. Senior developers, I think, will appreciate this change. But I think we are taking a step back in the industry overall we are basically going back to credentials, CVs. You have worked at the right company with the right amount of years. the newcomers have harder to prove themselves than 3 years ago. So I think we're probably taking a step back, like overall in the industry.
No, when you say it like that, yeah, definitely, I agree that that we're taking a step back because we're going more towards, I believe, this kind of biased hiring, and it will be much harder for juniors to break in to good roles if they don't have that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, juniors and as you said previously, the emerging market talent. So if you're applying from a country that generally, well, if you're applying from an emerging country, we see a lot of good developers from, for example, from India, Africa, we see from Pakistan, different regions, then you might not have the same chances as you might have had before, where you could prove yourself with a coding test or a coding challenge. Google, for example, had this monthly coding challenges where the best developers got highlighted, and you had to solve them like really quickly, and there were like thousands upon thousands of participants in each. And the best programmers might come from anywhere, but it's much harder to do those challenges now, especially because they were very lead code, like lead code. So basic question, small bonification. That's like exactly what ChatGPT loves to solve.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I believe we should wrap this podcast up. It was, a pleasure, Carl, speaking about these topics. If ChatGPT has ruined coding tests, and see you in the next episode.
Absolutely. Thank you, William. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.